Hey, I'm Peyton Kell, and I'm going to be doing a speech over Chris Kyle. This is my audience.
Hey, I'm Charles Jackson.
Hey, I'm Kayla.
Hey, I'm Rob. I'm Daryl Dixon.
I'm Pat McCucci.
With 160 confirmed kills in Afghanistan and Iraq, Chris Kyle is the most lethal sniper in U.S. military history. While most people who become Navy SEALs are bred into this type of lifestyle and train for it their entire life, Kyle was never interested in the military until the attacks of 9/11. He actually grew up and became a rodeo cowboy. Since I have always been a military history fanatic, when I heard of the way Chris Kyle was murdered 2 years ago, I became obsessed with his story and his time serving in the military. Chris Kyle's life involves three distinct, very different time frames that we will talk about, known as pre-military, military, and post-military. Before Chris Kyle was the war hero he is known as today, he led a very normal life. He grew up in Odessa, Texas with his father, mother, and his brother. From the beginning, his dad taught him about God, and their family was centered on Christ. Kyle's father also taught him never to start a fight, but always make sure he finished it. He embraced this concept from an early age, always having to defend his brother. Chris Kyle actually grew up and became a rodeo cowboy. As a rodeo cowboy, Kyle was living paycheck to paycheck, going nowhere fast, but he was completely fine with that. He enjoyed being a cowboy and had no intentions on quitting rodeo until he saw the news on 9/11. Now that you have heard about Kyle's life before the military and his rodeo days, let's see how different his time spent in the military was. After the attacks on the World Trade Centers, Chris went to the Navy recruitment office, and the recruiter there referred him to the SEALs. Once he went through SEAL training and was assigned to a SEAL team, he deployed for his first time. Kyle's first kill overseas was very difficult for him. He coped with having to kill other humans by constantly reminding himself that by killing one enemy, he was saving his brothers and fellow soldiers. Kyle did 4 tours to Afghanistan during his time in the Navy. During his deployment, he earned the nickname The Legend from his fellow American soldiers. He also was named the Devil of Ramadi by the Taliban soldiers, and they also put a cash reward out for him because he was such a devastating force to their ranks. According to Smidl's article, In the Crosshairs, he was on his way to becoming one of the deadliest snipers in American history with 160 confirmed kills. He also had 255 claimed kills that were never confirmed. Kyle was married shortly after he graduated from BUD/S and shortly before he deployed. These deployments put a lot of strain on his marriage. Kyle's wife gave him a choice between her and the military around the time of his 4th deployment. At first he was unsure, but eventually he made the decision to leave the military and come home for good. Although Chris Kyle tried very hard to keep his secret from his wife while in the military, once he came home there was no hiding the fact that he suffered from post-traumatic stress disorder. Once Kyle left the military, he realized getting back into a civilian-style life was not going to be easy. Chris was used to living in a hostile environment where every move he made was carefully planned out, and he was always watching his back. He was doing the same thing once he got back home, constantly thinking there was a threat around every corner. He had post-traumatic stress disorder. To cope with his own PTSD, Kyle began taking veterans out to shooting ranges to teach them some of the sharp shooting skills he learned as a sniper. In his article, When the Hero Dies at the End, Guzman explains, to overcome the symptoms of PTSD after leaving the Navy in 2009, Kyle set out to help other veterans struggling to adapt to life at home. Kyle did not just take them out shooting. He gave each veteran a friend who understood exactly what they were going through and someone they could talk to. But, being the legend, there weren't many, if any, veterans who did not know who he was before they met him. Chris Kyle was a hero not only on the battlefield, but also right here at home. He was a great soldier who will be remembered throughout history, but he was also a great patriotic man. He did as much as he could for his country, the way he knew how, and never stopped doing for this country until it cost him his life. He had taken a veteran who had PTSD to the shooting range to try to help him through his struggle with the disease when the man shot him in the back of the head. In conclusion, we have taken a look into the life of the most lethal sniper in U.S. military history. As you have seen, the 3 time periods of Chris Kyle's life, pre-military, military, and post-military, were very different times in Kyle's life. Now that I have read and studied about a hero such as Chris Kyle, I am no longer scared when I read the news of the events taking place overseas, but instead I am humbled and very grateful to know that there are men like Kyle who are overseas fighting for me and my freedom. Thank you.